What's going on, MIXX Nation? Well, welcome back to the Kinetic PE Show, where we crank up the energy, unlock your potential, and transform your life. I'm your host, Marcus, aka DJ Potential, last name Hart, and I'm stoked, absolutely stoked to bring you another episode packed with inspiration, wisdom, and lots of practical advice. We're all about empowering you to become the best version of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. Now, today, we have a true champion in the house, a man who went from underdog to role model, inspiring young people all over the globe. Give it up for Jesse. What's going on, Jesse?
You're not the first one. That's a tough name. I got a French name, and it's got a capital letter in the middle of it. So, we just try our best with these things.
Is it LeBeau?
LeBeau. I don't have as good of a
Okay.
name for showbiz like you. Marcus Hart, that's solid showbiz name right there.
Yeah, I mean, I might have all the celebrity, but you are truly the one who's making a mark in our world and in our generation right now. You were known for youth motivational speaking.
Yeah, I never thought this is what I would end up doing with my life. My single sole obsession growing up on a little island in Alaska was basketball. And that's all I ever thought about. I watched this movie, The Pistol. Did you ever see that one?
Okay. Yes, I saw The Pistol. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the Pete Maravich story for those who know it. And he was dribbling a basketball all the time and spinning it on a finger. And he lived out in the country, so he was like walking on train tracks, dribbling the ball. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do like the Alaska version of that. So there was a little bit more snow and a little bit more ice in my version of it. But yeah, I never would have thought I'd be traveling around speaking to kids and I have a lot of fun doing this. I could feel like I can't believe it.
After all, it is about the kids. And, most importantly, you could be talking to adults, but what really led you to become a youth motivational speaker?
Yeah. So great question. I guess that is just what I kind of felt called to working with youth. And it's because that's kind of the domain that I was in. So it all started with me, like I said, being back in Alaska, wanting to be a basketball player, right? And there was one big problem with that, and it was that I was the smallest kid by far of all my classmates in our little school, smaller than all the girls. And so this made it immediately like I was an underdog. I was going up against bigger, faster, and stronger players my whole life. And I had kind of this defining moment with this bully. And this is a story I tell on stage. And it was really him saying that I couldn't chase my dream and that I wasn't going to be able to be a basketball player. In fact, I was going to be a pony boy. I was going to ride ponies for a living. That was the extent of what I was going to be able to do. And in that moment, I decided I'm going to prove this guy wrong. I'm going to become the best basketball player I could possibly become. And that one little decision led to a series of other decisions that completely shaped the direction of my life. And so, long story short, I became that Pistol Pete Maravich Alaska version in dribbling the basketball around. And I put in tons and tons of time and work on it and loved every second of it. And from there, I went on to get a college scholarship, have a good career. And I broke into entertainment doing basketball commercials. My very first one was for Kobe Bryant. I put on his shoes in this Kobe 6 commercial. And basically the powers of Kobe Bryant and the Black Mamba come into me. And I run all around Los Angeles and I'm dunking on everybody and dominating everyone. And then I go back to the store and I'm like, I'll take a pair of these shoes. And what was cool about it was the thing that allowed me to be in that commercial. And then from there, go into movies and TV shows and tons of other commercials was basketball. I would show up to these auditions and everyone else would look like a basketball player. And I would look like a little boy. And they'd be like, hey, are you at the right audition? This is for basketball. And I'd be like, well, I'm here. I guess I might as well do it. Can I go? And they're like, okay. And they kind of like are like, this is a waste of time. It's probably just easier to let them audition. And then I'd go out there and I would do all the tricks and go between people's legs and stand on the basketball. And I would get twice the reaction of someone else if they had done the same thing, just because I didn't pass the look test as an athlete.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what I always talk about on stage is like, sometimes that thing you think is your weakness can actually be the thing that makes you stand out and can be your unique superpower. So what happened was from there, I started getting to travel around and do street ball all over the world. I got to play with Allen Iverson as my teammate. It was incredible. But what would happen is people would hand me a microphone in front of a school, in front of a group of kids or at an event, and they'd be like, talk to them. And I'm like, and I would just kind of start talking and answering questions and having fun with the kids, which is half of the battle, right?
Right.
And then I kind of had this epiphany. I had my light bulb moment later, and I realized, oh, I could do a lot more than just dribble a basketball and do tricks. I could actually share my story. And the audience
Good.
that I was most passionate about doing that with was kids, was teenagers, middle school and high school. And so, yeah, I go do the corporate thing now and then. It's a lot bigger paycheck. And to be honest, it's a lot easier because no matter how you do, adults are pretty polite and respectful, even if it's not going well, where kids, that's not the case by any means.
Yeah, they're honest.
Yeah, the best preparation and training was doing a decade of speaking at middle schools and high schools that were kind of like, who's this guy? I know he's going to say, don't do drugs and I'm not, whatever, to try to win that audience over. So I know you asked it a really simple question, but there was a lot of background before I could just say why I like to speak to kids. That's where the passion is.
Man, I greatly appreciate it. That is so amazing. You have an amazing journey, man, and I really appreciate it. I can resonate with that. The way I got the name Potential is from basketball. I was one of the short kids on the team, and
There it
all
is.
the rest of the players would call me, "Oh, we'll name you Potential because you got potential to start, but you're too short."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's
so
a
it
lot of
stuck with me ever
people.
since.
And that's what I'll tell you, Marcus. I've seen the part when I first started speaking was I thought that people, what I needed to do was impress them. And like,
Yeah,
I have to have qualifications and I have to have credentials and I have to have all these things, but you have to start somewhere. And the
yeah,
most
you do.
important thing you can have in the
Yeah,
beginning is just your passion and your work ethic. Right. And early on, you would lean on, well, I've done these cool things and I worked with these celebrities and done these impressive things. But after giving hundreds and hundreds of talks, you start to see patterns. And one of the patterns that I started to see was that kids would come up and share. And the thing they really connected with me on wasn't that I did a movie with Kevin Durant or Allen Iverson or those cool things that I thought would win them over. It was when I tell that story about being bullied in the 7th grade because they are going through some type of tough time and they feel like an underdog. And almost every single person, old or young, I found, almost all of them exclusively identify in some way to being an underdog. They could be from the most affluent family, have all the money in the world, but maybe they have a speech impediment or they feel like they don't have friends or fit in because people look at them
mhm,
differently. And so that underdog theme is just super universal and a great way to connect
indeed,
with is to show your
indeed.
vulnerability and show the areas that you struggle in. And that's something that I learned pretty early on to it of like, oh, that's actually the superpower is talking about the thing that you struggle with and that you're having a hard time with it. And that's where people see your humanity and will connect with you.
Like it. So, I want to deep dive into that underdog journey a little bit more, man. When we hear that, you work alongside like people like Kevin Durant, AI, shout out to AI, I'm a huge AI fan. And then you got a chance to do the historical commercial for historical legendary figure, Kobe Bryant, our key to him. You might have not always been confident and inspiring as you are today. And, maybe take us back a little bit into some of the early life challenges that took you from underground to role model.
Yeah, I give my dad a lot of credit for it. We were crazy about sports. Obviously, basketball was the big one, but I was also really into soccer and baseball, which in Alaska aren't the best sports maybe to choose
Yeah.
because it's so cold and we didn't even have grass on the field back then. We literally played on dirt. But we would go to these games and we'd watch the older kids and we wouldn't watch it in the way that most people would watch the game. What my dad would keen in on with me is what does that star player do when things don't go his way? When he doesn't get the game winning hit or make the game winning play, but when he strikes out, does he hustle off the field? Does he blame the umpire? Does he yell at his teammates and the fans, say the sun was in his eye? Or does he go and high five everyone, hustle out to his position, and focus on the next play and encouraging the next man? And what my dad really emphasized with that stuff was that's what shows who's going to be a winner in the long run, and not just in sports, but in the bigger picture in life. And that's something that so many parents miss out today with sports. They're meant to teach us lessons of how to be better people and to succeed more in life. Because we've all seen those commercials of, only 0.001% of us go on to be a professional athlete during the March Madness campaign, right? So what can you take to actually be a better person from these sports? So the big lesson there was attitude. What is your attitude going to be? You can't control what happens to you a lot of times in life. And unfortunately, bad things are going to happen, but you can always control how you choose to respond with your attitude. You can get bitter or you can get better, and that will make all the difference in your life. And I say that I'm the attitude guy. That's what's on the side of the tour bus and all the stuff that we put out there. And I'm saying it as a person who has to work on it and be conscious of it every single day and struggles with it. It's so difficult, but if you can start working on that, it makes all the difference in your life. And that's why learning it in the 6th grade, in the 7th grade, in the 8th grade, as opposed to 45 years old, will save you a lot of time, save you a lot of money, save you a lot of headache, and just make your life happier and more fulfilled, in my opinion.
Man, you really bring a very useful, contagious energy, and that's radiating through the recording like that. Man, I really love it and appreciate it. And, you got some powerful stuff. And the whole attitude aspect, that goes a long way. And that's very important from like starting where you were to transforming constantly, and making it a lifelong journey until we get back to wherever we go after we leave there. Yeah. How important is faith and play in a role in overcoming challenges and discovering your purpose?
Yeah, say it again. Did you say faith?
Yeah.
Man, that's funny that you bring that up. We had a big discussion about this yesterday because so many things are out of your control. Like I've been on this crazy health journey in the last month of realizing everything that I've been eating my whole life as a person who eats pretty well is not actually accurate. And I've been lied to my whole life. Like, oh, I'm supposed to eat brown rice and fish. In Alaska, we're eating a lot of salmon, right? And all these things. And now it's like, well, there's mercury and this thing's poisoning you and this thing's no good for you and going to give you cancer. To be like, okay, at what point in this do you just say, I give up, I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to have faith in that bigger purpose? And I think for most people, and it makes my heart so sad, and this is a conversation I had a number of years ago when we were putting out my book with my own mother, who's a retired school teacher, amazing educator, and has basically been an all-American mom my whole life and just serving everyone else. And we had this chapter about finding your purpose. What is that thing that lights you up? What's that thing that you would do for free? What's that thing that you would give away and it gives you more energy? And my mom, as a full-grown adult in her 60s, realized she had never asked herself those questions. And I think so many people never figure out what that thing is. And that, like I said, just breaks my heart because we're only here for such a short amount of time. And so the quicker you can find out the thing that is your gift that you love to do, and you can find a way to make it as part of your life, man, that makes your existence such a happier one. And I want to squeeze every ounce of joy that I possibly can. And for me, my goal, I wanted to be an NBA basketball player. But at 5'7" and average speed and hops and skills, I wasn't going to make it to the NBA. But I was like, how can I pivot and still have basketball be a part of my life, make a living, and create just an awesome existence? I could be a referee. I could be a basketball trainer. I could be a coach. I could be a statistician. There's a bunch of different things that you could do. And I kind of found this little niche with doing basketball tricks and incorporated it into my speeches. Right before this, I was on a call with a kid that we're doing coaching with, and come to find out the thing that he is crazy about is basketball. So that's how I'm able to connect with him and build some rapport. So now that I can step into a coaching capacity. I'm using that as an example to the big goal was the NBA, make millions of dollars, have an impact, do what you love. Hey, it didn't work out, but I'm still able to have that thing that I love and I'm passionate about as a part of my everyday life in a pretty cool, unique way that's ultimately kind of more fulfilling than the NBA may have been.
Love it, man. That's a beautiful testimony to the power of faith and perseverance. So on the other side, we're going to talk about the Attitude Advantage program. We're going to take a quick break here and allow everyone to digest what we just heard so far. So let's pay some bills with some sponsors. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of starting your day feeling unmotivated and foggy? I want to introduce you to a coffee that not only tastes amazing, but also helps you start your day with purpose and clarity. This is a premium coffee blend that I personally created. It has a rich, smooth taste that will energize your mind and sharpen your focus so you can take on the day with confidence. But that's not all. This coffee is also ethically sourced, which means that we work directly with the farmers to ensure that they are paid fairly and that their communities are thriving. And here's the best part. A portion of the proceeds from every bag of coffee goes towards mental health initiatives and community development projects in Uganda and Rwanda. So when you drink this coffee, you're not just enjoying a delicious beverage, you're also making a difference in the world. And right now you can get a 12 ounces bag for just $26 that is less than $2 per cup. It's time to start your day the right way.
Okay, we are back, everyone, with Mr. Jesse here, who's been just contributing great, education, great lessons, great things to just emulate. I can't wait to hear what we got on the second part of this. So, let's talk about the Attitude Advantage program. What inspired you to create this program, and what are some of the main goals of it?
Yeah, so we have a 90-day teen coaching program that helps kids build confidence, grit, and resilience, and then master their attitude. And where it really was born out of was I was going and speaking at hundreds of schools every single year. And in the beginning, it was amazing and so exciting. And what would happen is after I'd go give a 45-minute talk and I'd do the basketball tricks and I'd interact with the audience, I'd have a ton of fun. What would happen is kids would line up and I would stand there for about 30 minutes to an hour and they would pour their hearts out to me. And some of them were lighthearted, like, oh man, I have a big dream. I'm a short guy too, and I want to play basketball, or I want to go and be the first person from my family to go to college and graduate and do these amazing things. And then other kids would have really difficult, unfair things that they were going through. One popped in my head right now of a boy in Orange County at a very affluent school. And he came up and he waited in line. And when he got to me, he said, this meant a lot for me today because 6 months ago, my dad committed suicide. And then a month ago, my uncle committed suicide. So he lost those two influential figures in his life. And this was a common theme that happened kid after kid everywhere that I would go. And so as much as it's great to get all that positive sharing and trying to comfort them and say the right thing in those moments, the part that became frustrating over time was that I know that so many of those kids that said, I'm going to go do this, I have a big goal and a dream that I want to accomplish, don't know the first thing about how they actually go to do that. And so many of them, it's like, I liken it to like people go to church and the music's going and they got the Holy Spirit flowing and they feel amazing and they walk out and they go, where do they go? They all go to the restaurant to have a post-church meal. And pretty quick into it, the people are rude, they're mad and mean to the waiter. You're like, this is not a good example of what you just came from. It wears off, right? So it's the same thing. They're motivated, they're excited, they met someone that maybe has been around other people that they know or they've seen on TV, and that's great. But most of them aren't going to follow through because they don't know how to even do it. And so that's what this program was built out of giving them the roadmap to go from where they are in their life to where they want to be. So the thing is, even kids that have awesome, amazing parents that they have a good relationship with, they usually don't want to hear it from mom and dad. So if anyone's listening to this that has a teenager, you're probably shaking your head right now and you could totally feel my pain on this. Everything you're saying a lot of times is going in one ear, out the other. Even though you know you're nailing it and you're saying the right thing and you've lived it, that just isn't in the cards for them. And so having an outside mentor that can come in and be the fun person and kind of echo those things that you're saying, then they go, and I'm guilty of the same thing in my own life. I remember I sat down with this NFL football player. His name's John Dornbos. He does magic too and hosts the Ellen Show a bunch of times. And he had a bunch of one-liners that were amazing. And one of them was, you got to work hard and you got to treat people right. And I was an adult at this point, and I got out of there and I called my mom. I'm like, you're never going to believe this awesome advice that this football player told me. And she was quiet. And then she goes, you idiot. I've been telling you that your whole life. Why are you wasting my time with this? Click. And I thought about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, she has been telling me that. So that is the program. We do a bunch of different stuff in there. But at the end of the day, it's all focused in on confidence, grit, and resilience, and their attitude, because all of the data and research shows if we can help them improve their confidence, that spills into almost every other area of their life. So if it's they don't like the way they look, they're having trouble making friends, they're lonely, you name it, the kids that believe in themselves, that truly love themselves, they're going to care less about what their peers think about them. They're going to go on to do amazing things, be confident, successful, and happy in their lives. And so that's a Attitude Advantage program in a nutshell, and why we put it together.
That's incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. And as you was talking, it made me think about my teenage son. I got 2 teenage sons. So
Okay, here we go.
oh my God, they just do not listen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I know that coaches like got, they're a great coach when they got a amazing backstory and along with like basketball background, because they draw up the best plays for life. So can you share any like specific success stories or examples of how the program has impacted young people's lives? I know you mentioned one, early on, and like how it really drawn you more into offering this program. But is there any more, or one example story that you would like to share?
Yeah, man, you could pick a subject and I could run with it. It's so cool about this is every kid and every person is just going through something different in their life. So a success story for one kid might mean they got back into school after being incarcerated and they've been on drugs and they've cleaned up their life that way. That's what we might see as a more extreme one. Other kids today with mental health, it could be self-harm and dealing with these feelings and thoughts of suicidal ideation and those types of things. Where another kid, it might just be they're lonely and they don't have friends and they want to make one friend. So it's such a wide spectrum of the things that kids are going through. And what we do is we meet them where they're at and we find out the things that they want help on. Because here's a difficult thing, and this, maybe you can relate to this as a parent, can drive a lot of parents nuts. You can want something for your kid as bad as you could want it. It could be something they're struggling with, or just like, I want him to excel like me in basketball. But he doesn't have the same drive that you had for that thing. And no matter how bad you want it, all of that's great and it can be helpful, but it comes down to how much your kid wants help with that thing. And so that's what I was talking with the kid earlier that I was chatting with. I go, hey, it's awesome that your dad wants you to be a doctor, but none of that matters unless you want that for your own life. And if you don't, you're just going to grow to resent him, and it's going to hurt your guys' communication and relationship. So we get the buy-in from the kids so that they're like, no, yes, this is actually something that I want to do. This isn't something my mom and dad are forcing me to do. It seems like it's going to be fun. We give them what they want so that we can give them what they need. I'll give you kind of a middle of the road example of a success story that I like to share. This was an awesome kid. He was 16. He came from a really nice Indian American family, and he just had low confidence. So that's the one commonality among a lot of kids today. They're like, he doesn't have a good group of friends. He's struggling, in school and with sports. He was also a little bit into basketball. So what happened with him was we do a group call each week. He showed up on that first group call and his camera was off. Couldn't see him. And we're like, okay, all right, well, this is something that we're going to have to work on. So we worked with him on it. And by the next week, he came on, but you could only see the top of his head, which is actually a popular thing that a lot of kids will do today. And then week 3, it was his forehead. And then it was down to his eyes, his nose. By about 6, 7, 8 weeks in, he showed up. He is a good looking kid. He had his full face on the screen, and we usually start with a celebration. And sometimes for the shy kids, that can be like pulling nails out of them, right? And so we go, hey, does anyone have a celebration? And he goes, hey, I have a celebration. Could I start us off? I actually have 2 celebrations. Would it be okay if I shared those? And so within a short amount of time, in just a couple of months, he had a whole new group of friends. He made the basketball team. He was doing better in school. And it was all because of the story that he was telling himself with his confidence. And we would even catch him sometimes. He'd be like, you could tell he was like texting. I'd be like, hey, who are you texting over there? Kind of giving him a hard time, And he'd be like, oh, one of my friends just texted me something. It was hilarious, is how he said it. And I just remember thinking it was so funny going from not being able to show his face to beaming with confidence and spilling over into all the other areas of his life, like we talked about earlier. So yeah, man, we have kids that come on that have gone through some of the most difficult things a kid can go through, and their parents don't even know about it. And on the first call with their coach, because it's not their parent, because they feel comfortable and safe, they feel genuinely seen, heard, and cared about, they'll open up and share these things with us. And then we can go back to the parent and go, hey, these things are going on, and we can get them the help that they need. So it really is a wide spectrum on this stuff, but
Yeah.
it's, by honing in on that confidence, it makes a big difference with just about any situation.
I know you being completely honest too, man, and that's a real thing. You stating straight facts right now. I mean, I look at my two teenage boys and I say, well, yeah, this one probably needs this one probably needs that, and I can just see Michael Jordan punching in the air, thinking about his son, Marcus Johnson, Jordan,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a real perfect example of what you said about, wanting something so bad for your kids, and then they want something completely opposite. But tangible impacts is what you're doing for the youth community. You got into mental health, a topic that's really so crucial, especially for the teenagers. What are some of the biggest mental health challenges you've seen the young people facing today?
Yeah, great question. The one that I think is being talked about the most right now is this teen loneliness epidemic. And in a lot of ways, it's very close to my heart, and I feel like I can relate to it because growing up in a place where it was isolated, and where I'm at in Alaska, it's dark, in the winter, not all the time, but I would go to school, it'd be dark, and I'd get out of school and it'd be dark. So for all of those reasons, there's a lot of struggles with alcohol and drugs and depression and self-harm. And the thing that I really struggled with was I felt like I was trapped in this little place, and I didn't have the opportunity to go and do the things that I wanted to do. And so in this modern world with technology, social media, smartphones, kids technically are more connected with others than they've ever been in their lives. Followers, friends, online, all of these different things. But on the flip side of it, there's never been a bigger amount of kids that feel disconnected than ever before. And this is reflected in every data, poll, research, everything that you can look at, that mental health problems are on the rise. Depression, anxiety, self-harm, you name it, these kids are struggling more today. So the thing that we really preach and we work with our kids on is helping them team up. And by team up, we mean finding their tribe, finding their community that has interest in the same things that they are interested in. And it could be anything. It could be a sport. It could be an instrument. It could be the youth group. It could be volunteering, and actually connect with other people in person, not through a screen on their phone, not through a Zoom. Even though this is a great and amazing what we're doing right now, it would be way more powerful if we were able to do it in person. We were able to shake each other's hand, give each other a little bro hug, do the whole thing. You actually can just feel and connect with other people. And that is hardwired in our DNA since the beginning of time to want that sense of community. And so many people don't have that, and they avoid it. They blatantly use their phone in their AirPods or their headphones to avoid having to talk to people. And that's why we have kids that come and we're having to work on them just to be able to get out of the car to go into their school, because they're so riddled with anxiety, and they're able to use this phone as a buffer and a barrier to make it feel like they're not alone and make it feel like they're connecting with other people by liking a thing or watching a video or sharing a reel, but it's not a real connection. And it really struggling with that. So helping them team up, find their tribe and their community is huge, and will make all the difference.
I love that. And those are some serious challenges. How we approach these issues is one of the questions that, that I lose sleep over, man. And I would like to know, how do you approach these issues, and how do you integrate spiritual wisdom with psychological insights to offer support for these kids?
Yeah, I think so much of it comes from having these conversations. What's the quote? If you don't make a plan, you're planning to fail. So many people were just winging it. All right, well, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to eat the foods that are most handy. I'm going to exercise if it fits in and it's convenient. I'm going to just, every time my phone pings and there's an alert, I'm going to look at it. And in so many instances, I feel like the phone is in more control of people than they are in control of their own phone. And most adults I know,
Right?
yeah, most adults I know don't have a healthy relationship with their phone. So the number one advice, if you're a parent listening to this, I would say is talking the talk is great. And people like to say do as I say, not as I do. That's a great thing to say, but it doesn't work. And kids are watching everything you do, whether you realize it or not. So if you're on your phone at the dinner table, whether it's like, oh, well, I'm an adult and I have to do emails for work. Okay, well, then why should I not have to do that if I'm a kid watching you? And they're seeing every single thing that you're doing. So the most powerful testimony that you can have is the walk that you're walking in your own life. I went to this school in San Diego, and I remember in freshman year, it was a Christian school, and on the side it said, evangelize the gospel everywhere you go. And when necessary, use words. And that was so powerful that I still remember it today, and I'm still quoting it. And that's the same thing with these different things that we're talking about, whether it's social media, your phone, your diet, your health, your relationship with other people. How you're living your life is going to have the biggest impact on your kids' lives. And the second thing is you have to be intentional and have systems. So have these conversations. We have all sorts of tools and resources that for parents, for like a teen cell phone contract, what you should do when it comes to social media and how many hours and ways that you can block it and have it not be consuming them. Because I've gone, Marcus, I did one recently, and I had like 12 different schools all at one big event. And I had them all hold up their phones. And I said, all right, let's go into settings. Let's look at screen time and let's start sharing. And it was insane. The average teenager is looking at their phone 8 hours a day, which is the equivalent of a 40-hour week, which is a full-time job. That's the average. So there were kids there that held up their phone. I went to them with a microphone, and it was over 20 hours. So I think they're falling asleep with it on, which, I mean, hopefully they're getting sleep and not on it that much, but it's so out of whack. So if you don't put some type of limit on there, you are going to use it to the absolute fullest that you possibly can. So I guarantee if you give your kids 2 hours of screen time, they're going to use 2 hours of screen time, and they're going to be asking for hours in 1 minute of screen time. So you got to come up with what those systems that will be in advance. And then that helps you learn discipline, because these phones aren't going anywhere. Social media is not going anywhere. Right. And so they have to start learning now while you're still there and they're in the home of like, all right, what's the positive side of this? What do I like about it? I like connecting with friends. I like being able to research and get more information on things I'm interested in. What's the bad side? Well, I kind of don't feel good after I go on a binge of just doom scrolling. And I feel like I miss out on opportunities. I'm not in as good a shape. I don't sleep as good. All of these factors, and have them start realizing it for themselves. And once they do that, they'll be better prepared for the world when they hit 18 to make those decisions, hopefully better on their own.
That makes a lot of sense. And that really truly is a holistic approach to, some of these challenges, man. You're really nailing it here. And we take everything you have given us so far, man, dropping in the lake. We got diamonds in the lake. So, man, thank you so much today. So far, like I have noticed throughout the entire episode, you're a great storyteller. In fact, you're a master storyteller. And you use your own story to empower young audiences. How does storytelling play a role in your work, and what techniques do you use to connect with your audience?
Man, how much time do you got? We could nerd out on this one. I love that question, Mark. I think it really is that thing that I touched on earlier of using your weakness, your vulnerability, the thing that you struggled with is really the area that will make people connect with you and open up. But yeah, there's so many things. Like it may just seem, if you came up and saw me talk to your kids at their school, that you're like, oh, he just kind of goes up there and it seems like you're kind of winging it. But everything is detailed and very intentional. So I know the adversity that I'm going to hit when I first go in front of a group of kids is, who is this guy and what is he going to be preaching about and tell me that I shouldn't do? So my whole thing in the beginning is I want to throw them off and give them something that they don't expect. So I'm going to have whatever the hottest song is that all the kids are into playing when they walk into the gym or into the auditorium. And I'm going to have a crazy video that's like the Chicago Bulls 1996 Michael Jordan intro video coming out to make it fun. And they're like, what is going on? And it's going to be loud and there's going to be lights. And then I'm going to run out. I'm going to be throwing out free stuff. t-shirts, basketballs, books, and then I'm going to start doing basketball tricks, and then I'm going to start joking around with them and bringing them up on stage. And I'm doing all these things to show them that I respect them enough to do something that they like and they enjoy. It's like the spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Because if I go up there and I go, hey, in the 7th grade, my friend started smoking weed, and that literally made his life go on a spiral out of control to where he's been in and out of jail his whole life, and it really ruined things for him. And I don't want that for you. If I come in like that, it may be a great message. They aren't going to want to hear it because they're like, why should I even listen to you? Like, what? Like, why does this even matter? But if I can honor them and respect them by having fun playing around and then going into a little bit of storytelling, and some of those things I think come early on as a little bit of insecurities of like, oh, how will I get them to listen and how will I get them to like me? But over a decade of doing this, I've learned the part where they really start to lean forward in their chair and get quiet is when I go, taking action completely changed the direction of my life. I grew up on a little island in Alaska, and every day I had to take a boat to school. And now all of a sudden, the storytelling begins. And that is the thing that they lean in, because we're all drawn to stories since the caveman days. So, man, yeah, I think there's so much fun stuff you can do and make it seem like you're improvising and having bits and pieces that you work into the story where you get their input, getting them to repeat things, going back and doing callbacks. I mean, I study comedy religiously and go to comedy shows all the time because there's so many devices that they use in their storytelling that I implement into my stuff as well. And that's what I see myself as. It's a stand-up comedy, but for a little bit different purpose than just making them laugh. I want to have a little bit more significant impact on their life and touch on their heart and help them maybe start to think some things that gets them to actually take an action. Because unless they take action in their life, it can be a fun day. It can be that motivational feeling good when they walk out of there. But until they actually do something different in their life and change something that's going on, everything's going to stay the same. So really pushing them to take that action at the end of the day is the thing that's the most important.
You're right. You're totally right, man. You know, the mixed direction at the beginning is the minimum entry point in which you bring them in. You know, it's like a great musician, you know, able to like create the wonder rather than just tricking people, into, being in the show, so and the storytelling is the massive part of it. I thank you for that, Jesse. Man, you got some good stuff here that you're offering. So as we wrap up, man, what are some key takeaways you hope our listeners and viewers too will remember from your journey and your message?
Yeah, I think the most empowering thing, hopefully, that people will take away from today is that everything in your life, you can make it happen. You are the person, you're the CEO, you're the boss, whether it's your health, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your family, it's up to you. But again, information, they always say information is power. Yes, information is power and information is great, but you actually have to do something with the information. And today, I feel like so many of us are focusing on learning all these things nonstop and listening to the next podcast that we're not actually applying it to our lives on a daily schedule. And that's the thing that makes all the difference. So if you're a parent listening, again, back to that message earlier, is it starts with you. Be that person that you want your kid to be. Be that shining example in their life, and it will make all the difference. And the only other thing I can think of, Marcus, is I always try to say this because I travel and I talk to so many families, so many kids, so many educators. If you're a person that has someone in your life that is on the autistic spectrum, they're struggling with autism, check out our site, theattitudeadvantage.com/welcome. We have a link that you can click there that will take you to a ton of resources. And that's actually just someone I partner with that's amazing. I that isn't my background or area of expertise at all, but it just became so prevalent everywhere I go that more and more families are impacted with autism that I brought in some awesome people that can offer support and help for families that are navigating those tricky waters.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I can't wait to show this episode to the boy's mom, and we can make some decisions here moving forward. So I really appreciate you truly giving us a roadmap to navigate life's challenges, unlock our full potential, and I just want to say to our amazing listeners out there and viewers, definitely if you're parents, you're not defined by your past or your circumstances or your struggles. We all are the child of the Most High. destined for greatness, embracing the journey, believing in yourself, and never giving up on dreams is what you're giving me today, Jesse. I really appreciate it so much. Now, I know you mentioned like one part of your site that we're going to definitely put in the episode description. Is there, one specific way to connect with you, Jesse, or learn more about the Attitude Advantage program? And if so, where can we find it at?
Yeah, I'm easy to find online. It's just my name, Jesse LeBeau. If you give that a search, and then theattitudeadvantage.com is where we have everything listed. So yeah, if it's a school program, if it's a team coaching program, if it's speaking stuff, you can find all of that right there.
Awesome, man. We're going to be sure to include that in all of the links in the episode notes. And to our incredible Mix Nation, thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the Kinetic PE MIXX Show on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube channel. Share this episode with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, and let's spread the positive vibes. And I'm definitely going to replay this a couple of times myself and check and plow into the website, along with the mom. Yeah, we might be doing some things in the future here, Jesse. So,
I love it. Let's do it.
You will not see the last of me.
I love it. Yeah, and we'll have to send over some basketball stuff. I got some fun little free giveaways we give away at the schools. So yeah, they're into basketball. I got you covered.
Excellent. All right, so this is Marcus DJ Potential Hart reminding you to keep your attitude high, your faith strong, and your energy kinetic. Until next time, keep your light shining and transforming the world one attitude at a time. We're out.